Morning everyone, how are you? It's chilly. I've not got a thermometer on this bike, but yeah, it's chilly and foggy. I think it's chilly because look at those skies, blue skies again, everybody. So yeah, chilly this morning, no ground cover, so all the heat throughout the night has just whipped away. All the heat, what little heat there was throughout the night has just been whipped away. Gonna do that, put your foot down. Yeah, now I'm going to try something here because I've downloaded an app called Relive that kind of maps your journeys. I used to use it a lot when it was free, fucking hell. Used to use it a lot when I was road biking. As in, you know, I was a mammal for a while. Not really thought about using it on a motorbike, but so I haven't bought it. I'm in the trial period and I'll cancel it before the end of the trial period because the way that I ride a bike, i.e. Mostly commute, those trials are going to be really familiar very quickly. But yeah, so I thought I'd do a bit of that, then break into it for a bit of nat wisdom, and then break into it so you can see the rest of my commute. Although obviously I'll stop it short of the end of my journey because I don't want any of you bastards knowing where I park my bike. Yeah, I'm yet to have a bike stolen in central London. I think I'm about one of one, or stolen or attempted or whatever. I think mostly because my bikes aren't overly shiny or eminently stealable. But anyway. I wanted to talk. Yeah, I probably should have done this bit of spiel and talk later, but later in my journey. But whatever. Where there are cyclists, because I want to talk cyclists again. Partly. Sorry, there's concentrating on not dying. That'd be what he's indicating. God, does he need a minder for bin day? I suppose probably does. Yeah, because there's a couple of interesting articles, and if I remember to or can find them again, I will drop them down the bottom. It's in the Standard, so the London Standard, which I think is the online version of the Evening Standard. I'm not sure. Newspapers are pretty much dead nowadays. Let's face it. Or sorry, printed press is, and there's so much online now. And I point blank refuse to use phrases like MSM for mainstream media, and because it immediately makes you look a bit of a dick, potentially a conspiracy theorist and everything else. So, but anyway, on the Standard now, because of my, be careful how I say this, browsing habits. Obviously, cookies point you in certain directions. So I got stuff. I get some road CC, is it? You know, the cycling lot come through, and I get a few bikes. And I think because I've mentioned the word bike before, I get a few bits thrown my way. But the bit that I got was actually quite interesting and certainly worth a read. If for no other reason at all, for the comments, and I'm starting to turn into one of those I'm only here for the comments people, because the comment section at the end of these things are just glorious. You know, if you go a whole day in your life and you come across no bigotry or idiots, it's because they're all there. It's like somebody's just been going around with a bag full of 50p's, putting them in every idiot they can find. It's great. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The crux of the article was that there's an organisation, a charitable trust, I think, organisation that is in charge. I say in charge rather than owns, because I don't think they do like financially own, but in charge of the running of London's parks. Now, you know, for those outside of London, where they go, God, London has parks, it's all bricks and concrete. No, London is freaking beautiful, and it has some parts of London are freaking beautiful, and it has some absolutely stunning, amazing parks. Even the burbs do. I mean, even sort of Watford way where I am, there's some amazing parks. For a reason it took me a couple of years to get used to once I'd moved into or towards the big smoke was, you know, I grew up in Kent, and in a crap ex-London seaside resort. Now, if we wanted to do anything as a family or as a group of friends or anything like that during the summer, you went down the beach and you took your stuff for the day down at the beach, and penny arcades and Ben Bon Brothers and all sorts of great childhood memories. Now, obviously, if you don't live anywhere near a beach, you still want something like that. So that there are Londoners, and certainly the burb hangers-outers, do that at parks. So, you know, they'll take, and I see it a lot in the burbs, particularly in South Asian communities, is that they'll take, you know, a day's worth of food and blankets and seats and whatever, and effectively have like a day's picnic down at parks. It's brilliant. We've done it a few times with the kids, particularly when they're a little bit younger, and particularly with my youngest, when, you know, you get invited to go down, meet a friend at the park. Now, for, you know, my background, you popped to the park, you didn't spend the day there, so you go down there, take the dog, take some change for a cup of coffee in the little shop or whatever, and then you're good to go. Now, we were going down there with a lot more of a multicultural group, and there'd be throws, there'd be shitloads of food, and they'd be down there for the day. So, you know, the first 2 or 3 times we turned up really unprepared, but then you know, turn up there with you know, money for a coffee, a smile and the dog, and leave after 5 hours absolutely stuffed full of some of the most amazing food. But yeah, so where am I going? Parks in London are great. I mean, Regent's Park that I go round on one of the circulars is huge. It is stunning. It's really well looked after. A lot of money ploughed into it. It's all good. Now, there are issues around the parks with cyclists, and in 2022, I want to say, there was quite a famous one where an 82-year-old lady was struck by a push bike and died, which is tragic, to live that long and then lose your life in such a ridiculous way. But and the bike was, I think, estimated, I don't think it was clocked by anything, but the bike was doing something in the region of 29 mile an hour when it struck her. I think not actually in the park, I think it was in one of the routes that I go on, one of the routes around it. Now, this is where British law gets really, really odd. There is it dangerous and furious riding, which is some sort of 18th, 19th century law, but that's about, you know, whereas there is driving without due care of attention, there is reckless driving, there is, you know, various crimes that you can do on a motorised vehicle, and speeding, obviously. There's only really one, you know, I can't remember the proper title or but it's, you know, even the title's antiquated. You know, there's not much you can do through British law for people on push bikes. So, and particularly with trying to get people more fit, more active. Not everyone's going to be cycling, particularly in London. Not everyone has somewhere to store a pedal bike. You know, not everybody lives in a semi-detached with a driveway and a garage. You know, that's very much burbs living. Certainly not central London or any inner city living. It just doesn't work that way. So in a bid to get more people out and about, trying to make it better for more people in parks. Now, by more people, that doesn't automatically mean more cyclists. This is walkers, this is kids playing, this is this, that and the other. So there is, I believe, in some places cycle speed limits for push bikes, but there is a push at the moment from the charitable trust, from the organisation responsible for all of the parklands, to put in a speed limit in the parklands. And this charitable body is headed by, of all people, Lloyd Grossman. Now, for those of a certain age, you'll remember, who would live in a house like this? Terrible impression. I might see if I can find a YouTube clip to and dub it over the top. But you might remember Through the Keyhole. If you're not of that age, you might just remember curry sauces. Of all people to make a curry sauce, Lloyd Grossman, a well-to-do Englishman, has always struck me as funny. But anyway, that's an aside. He just happens to be a name and the name. And they are looking at suggesting a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in parks. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I did make sure I whipped my visor up then. I've done that once. That's a horrible experience. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, there's a Mel Smith scene where he does it in a space helmet, but I can't remember what film it's from. I'm going to have to look it up. Anyway, random. So pushing toward, asking for, looking for a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit for push bikes, for bikes in parks. Now, obviously, around parks and on the main roads and this, that, and the other, there's already a 20-mile-an-hour limit on a lot of them. Certainly on the road that I do on the outer circle around Regent's Park, there certainly is. But as I have covered before in previous videos, push bikes, pedal bikes, bicycles are not subject to speed limits. They cannot be charged for breaking the speed limit, because the speed limit does not apply to person-propelled mechanical vehicles. It kicks in on e-bikes once they're over a certain size, and obviously anything motorised, i.e. motorbikes, cars, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, so the comments at the bottom behind this were hilarious, because of course all the bikers, well, no, I'm generalising, a lot of the bikers suddenly go very militant. Oh, you're going to kill biking, biking's the healthy way, there should be more bikes. Why aren't cars restricted to 70 mile an hour, because that's the speed limit, which is fucking unrelated. But yeah, it's freaking hilarious. Just reading the comments. The one that got me the most, though, and the one that I wanted to talk about, because there was a second article that I caught that was basically just comments on the first one, and it was obviously, well, wrong. Sorry, I think the second one was written more by a cycling advocacy group, because it was all very pro-bike, and it was along the lines of. Oh no, sorry, it was the dodgy lawyer that gets famous people off speeding fines and things like that. Was it Mr. Loophole made a comment, and this is all about his comments. And effectively his suggestion was saying, well, yeah, whatever. His suggestion was, well, why not put speedos on bikes? And the world erupted, or sorry, I beg your pardon, the cycling world erupted, which you can't demand people put speedos on bikes, etc, etc. I come at it from a biker's perspective, which is very different. My perspective is, well, you don't really need to. And the reason I come to it with that opinion is that I'm going to state something I'm 95% sure of as fact here, and it's probably a little bit dangerous. You don't need a speedometer on a motorbike for MOT in the UK. Now, it's one of those weird idiosyncrasies of God, that's a word for a morning. One of the weird things about UK law, one of many weird things about UK law. So to get a motorbike through MOT, the speedometer isn't, I say it's not checked, it's not a requirement. If you have a speedometer fitted to your bike, it must work to pass the MOT. However, if there is no speedometer on your bike, your MOT can't fail it. It can comment on it, but it can't fail it. So your bike can therefore be road legal with no speedometer on it. Part of the MOT, they do check the tachometer, i.e. the miles or kilometres you've done, but if it's not present, it's not present. And the main reason they do the tachometer check is for there's a proper word I was looking for, but it's just left me. Provenance. Yeah, they say you can track the over mileometer over years the distance your bike has been travelled, used, etc, etc. So, you know, when it goes up X thousand miles in a year, you can look at that and go, fuck me, that was a heavy year. If it goes down several thousand miles, you can go, ooh, there's something dodgy going on there. But yeah, it doesn't need a speedometer. The reason I bring that up is a lot of the comments are there saying, well, you know, how can they stop a bike for speeding if it can't be, if it doesn't have a speedometer and doesn't know what speed it's doing? I was just looking at it going, oh, brilliant. I'm going to take my speedometer off my bike and just do 90 everywhere. Then when the police stop me, I just say, well, I haven't got a speedo, I don't know what speed I'm doing. It's not a legal requirement for me to have a speedometer. Yeah, it just struck me as the naivety of the bikers was hilarious. The simple fact remains, for the majority of bikes in London, and in fact, if I've got any battery left, then I'll find a bunch of bikers, because they'll be around at various points in my journey. They have all got phones on them. The majority have them mounted. The majority are using them for sat-nav purposes anyway. With the exception of kids riding to school, brackets, which doesn't happen anymore. It certainly did in my youth, but kids don't ride to school anymore, particularly in central London, because it's too freaking dangerous. But they'll all have the ability to track their speed. You do not need to attach a speedometer to a bike. Brackets, they've all freaking got one anyway. It just kind of cracked me up, but it's all very, the entire premise that you can't possibly do anyone for speeding because they won't have a speedometer, they won't know what to do, effectively making the argument that ignorance is an excuse. Ignorance of the law means you can get away with not following it. It's just hilarious. What it doesn't get at, and what all of this whole arguments of my own personal hilarity at reading the comments about speedometers, none of it gets past the fundamental fact though, and the fundamental fact that if you're going to do anything like that at all, then you need a way of identification on a pedal bike, because what's the point in catching somebody speeding if you can't prove it was them? So unless some I'll say copper, but it's not going to be a policeman, is it? Unless some community police, whatever, unless somebody is physically stopped while speeding and handed some sort of citation, ticket, whatever, there is no way of tracking who they are. You can't do speed cameras or static speed cameras like there are everywhere for pedal bikes, because there's no way of tracking this dude with no helmet, white trainers, etc. There is absolutely no way of tracking him back to his home address to send him a speed ticket, because he doesn't even know where he is. Why exactly he's pointing to roads, I have no idea. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's scaring me and himself. Yeah, it's it made me laugh. But the bit that, yeah, the fundamental bit for me, and please comment below if I'm wrong, I am adamant that you do not need a speedometer for a UK MOT. Brackets, if you have one, it has to work. So if you don't have one, if you don't legally have to have one on a motorbike, according to these morons that are push bike evangelists, if you don't have a speedometer, you can't be done for speeding. Well, excellent, I'm going to be doing 90 mile an hour from now on. I don't think this guy in front's got a speedometer. Or he's in a rush. Or he really likes his work and wants to get there quicker than everybody else. Or he overslept. Cheers all, I'll catch you later. Ta-da.